Call the meeting to order. Worthington City Council regular meeting, 5:30 p.m. Monday, September 8th, 2025, City Hall Council Chambers. I'd like to have everybody rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. We have no changes or additions to the agendas.
Move to close the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. On to our first public hearing, authorization to disperse spending plan for wetland mitigation at the South Shore Apartments development. Motion to open hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Hearing presentation.
Keepers, Architects, and Builders, the developers at South Shore, completed wetland mitigation efforts upon the acquisition of wetland credits from the Wetland Credit Agency and payment of the withdrawal and stewardship fee to the Board of Water and Soil Resource Board. The cost for each was $101,059.20 for the wetland credits and $7,890.32 for the stewardship fee. Total cost of $108,949.52. Keepers undertook a wetland delineation study of the project site. The delineation report determined that approximately 1.11 acres planned for building and roadway sites are classified as type 1, 2, or 3 wetland soils. The South Shore Apartments project is a market rate rental housing development in which the first phase includes 2 38-unit apartment buildings with future plans for 3 additional buildings. The City Council established a spending plan in December 2022 by transferring $2,329,478 of unobligated TIF District 7 funds to the spending plan. Funds in the spending plan are authorized to provide assistance to private development consisting of the development of a variety of housing to address the city's housing needs. This includes but is not limited to both market rate and workforce housing, along with a combination of owner-occupied and rental housing. The council is requested to commit spending plan funds to reimburse the developer for wetland mitigation in both the building and right-of-way sites and pass the resolution included as Exhibit 3.
Okay, do we have any testimony? Anyone, council?
Motion to close the hearing.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Action on the hearing.
Motion to pass the resolution included as Exhibit 3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. On public hearing number 2, proposed assessment for 2025 miscellaneous unpaid charges. Engineering. Motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
Evening, councils. My first item is to propose assessment for 2025 miscellaneous unpaid charges. The council will concur with the special assessment as presented, the corresponding resolution in Exhibit 1-1 adopting the assessment for the unpaid charges to get passed. The proposed assessment roll is shown in Exhibit 1-2. The recommended terms for the proposed assessments are 4% for 1 year, and this includes for unpaid charges for the stormwater utilities, unpaid charges for streetlight utility, and removal of noxious weed and vegetation. Staff recommends that council pass the resolution in Exhibit 1-1 for adopting the special assessment for 2025 miscellaneous unpaid charges.
Any testimony?
Has any of them come forward?
Nope, we haven't heard anything.
Anything else?
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Action on the hearing.
Motion to pass the resolution in Exhibit 1-1 for adopting a special assessment for 2025 miscellaneous unpaid charges.
Second. Okay. Motion seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, public hearing proposed assessment for Second Avenue Street Improvement, engineering case item 2. Motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is open. Hearing presentation.
This is for Second Avenue, street improvement. This happened in 2022 with sanitary sewer replacement. Should council concur with the special assessment that is presented, the corresponding resolution in Exhibit 2-1 adopting the assessments for the sanitary sewer improvements is to be passed. The proposed assessment roll is shown in Exhibit 2-2. The recommended terms for the proposed assessment is 4% in 15 years. Staff recommends that council pass the resolution in Exhibit 2-1 for adopting the special assessment for Second Avenue sanitary sewer improvement. So all the property owners who did replace the sanitary sewer services did agree and sign the paper, and we have that on record. Just letting you guys know that everyone basically agreed to have their sanitary sewer service replaced.
Any other testimony?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Mike?
Just a question on Rooney's Furniture. They seem to have a lot of frontage on that side.
Oh, this has nothing to do with the frontage. It's to replace the sanitary sewer service alone. So it's a per service cost. It has nothing to do with the frontage.
So they were charged on the front end. 11th?
Second Avenue.
So they were charged on the 11th Avenue, or would be charged,
There,
because their frontage is on
no, because street, there was no street assessment
Okay.
since it was a state aid project.
that? Okay.
But state aid fund doesn't cover the sewer part of it. So that's why it's getting assessed, and it's not the main part of the sanitary sewer, it's only the service line from the main to the house. So it's that length, and it's per parcel, nothing to do with the frontage length of it.
If you noticed in there, the city's Center for Active Living building was assessed under sewer service, even though they don't front on Second Avenue. The sewer service at the Cal comes out in the alley between them and Long Branch, and then goes to Second Avenue. So that sewer service was replaced also, even though it's not even on Second Avenue.
Okay, so we have a motion. And a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion to close hearing. We already did that. Need an action on the hearing.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Yep.
Thank you. On to the consent agenda. We've got regular city council meeting minutes of August 25th, 2025. Planning commission meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2025. Application for temporary on-sale liquor license for St. Mary's Church. Application for exemption from lawful gambling permit, United Way of Nobles County, and bills payable.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. On to administration.
All right, first item is State of Minnesota Trunk Highway 59, Trunk Highway 59 Frontage Road Jurisdictional Transfer Turnback Agreement. City Council approved a resolution on June 12th, 2023, indicating the city's intent to participate in a roadway jurisdiction transfer turnback agreement on Trunk Highway 59 in conjunction with State Project 5304-41. MnDOT has requested approval of the attached agreement and resolution included as Exhibit 4, noting the terms and condition of the jurisdictional transfer.
Council have anything? Mike?
In your discussions with MnDOT, everything is going well?
Yes, the last several meetings have, what do you call it, visual quality? Visual quality meetings, looking at a lot of the softer items, the landscaping, the green areas, the decor on the Interstate 90 bridges, which will match the bridge, the railroad bridge that is south of the east turnback with the W on there and some of the pattern on the bridge and the beams and columns. So, yeah, they've been going good. I think we're looking at 90% plans by the end of this year yet. So, good.
So can you refresh me on the terms? Are they paying for the whole reconstruction of the project?
I think there's a little bit that the city will pay for. I think the west partial block on Oxford Street between Humiston and Smith Avenue, there's some little things that we're paying for, but I think with the RISE grant that we received that cut into, some of that money is being allocated to the city share, so of the $30 million plus project, the city's paying a very, very small portion of that. And just refresh everyone, this work will begin in 2027. They're going to do the North Humiston stretch from Oxford Street up to the Interstate 90 bridges. Both bridges one over Highway 59 and then one over Industrial Lane over in that area get replaced in 2027. And then in 2028, they will do the East Oxford section. So it will be a 2-year project to complete all this work.
Everything else in the agreement, look.
Yes, yep.
I make a motion to approve Exhibit 4, noting the terms and conditions.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
All right, next item is authorization to advertise request for qualifications for a construction manager at risk, Worthington Ice Arena renovation and addition project. Staff is requesting authorization to advertise for request for qualifications to engage the services of a construction manager at risk for complete renovation of the existing ice arena and the addition of a second full-size enclosed ice facility to be attached to the existing arena. Both ice sheets shall be NHL rink dimensions, which are 200 feet by 85 feet. One sheet shall be constructed or renovated to allow for year-round ice, and the second sheet for seasonal ice and for use as a turfed recreation surface during non-ice months. In the construction manager at risk method of project delivery, the CMAR shall manage the construction process, including but not limited to responsibility for the price, schedule, and workmanship of the construction performed in accordance to provisions of Minnesota Statute 471.463. The CMAR contract shall include a guaranteed maximum price, construction schedule, and workmanship of the construction performed. The CMAR is responsible for preparation of all required architectural, engineering, construction, and bid documents, and soliciting competitive bids. City Council and staff shall establish a selection committee composed of a minimum of 3 persons tasked with reviewing the submissions and identifying the preferred entity to perform construction manager at risk. Once selected, the city enters into negotiations to finalize the scope of the project and the guaranteed maximum price. Upon agreement, the city will enter into a standard form of agreement between the owner and construction manager, where the basis of payment is the cost of work plus a fee for the guaranteed maximum price. This is AIA document A133 tab 2019. AIA is American Institute of Architects. The construction manager or subcontractor is paid on the basis of the actual cost to perform the work specified in the contract, plus an amount for overhead and profit, the sum of which shall not exceed the guaranteed maximum price in the contract. This project is contingent upon approval by the Nobles County Fair Board and securing sources of funding for the project. A copy of the RFQ is included as Exhibit 5. The RFQ includes the project scope, submittal procedure, proposed contract terms and conditions, schedule, budget, insurance, performance and payment bond requirements, and evaluation criteria. So just to explain this first step is simply to get interest from parties and their qualifications. This is not binding the city in any way with anyone at this point. We'll hopefully receive letters of interest, at which time the selection committee would select the one party that they prefer to work with, and then we would enter into the negotiation phase. And if that proceeds in an acceptable manner, then we would bring forth a contract back to the city council along with all of the other agreements that have to be in place, such as with the Fair Board and the other funding partners that they're funding, their sources of funds are secured. So this is merely an initial step and does not commit the city to anything at this point.
What if there's a change to the project? Like, why would the new sheet of ice be the year-round sheet of ice and the old sheet of ice be the?
That would all be discussed initially during the negotiation
Okay.
process. So major details like that should be really nailed down very closely before we would get into a contract.
Okay.
Generally, in this method of delivery, which construction manager at risk has been available in the state of Minnesota only to state agencies until 2023. In 2023, the legislature and expanded it to other public agencies to use this method of delivery. It's been commonly used by MnDOT in many major roadway construction projects.
And is this our first experience with it?
Yes, we did a variation of this with the second phase of the Fieldhouse project, but this would be the first time we're doing a full-blown construction manager of this.
What's the benefit of doing it this way versus the traditional way, or?
There can be cost savings if we did the normal method, which is what's design, bid, build. The administrative overhead costs could exceed 10%, maybe closer to 20% if the city is performing that end of it. The other thing is we then have to accept the lowest responsible bid. This way, we have more authority in selecting the construction manager based on their history of performing projects and their financial capability to deliver the project. So it gives us the opportunity to have greater say as to who the ultimate construction manager is going to be, as opposed to in a bid situation, prime bidder, you are pretty well restricted to the lowest bidder.
Anything else?
I think as far as, what we're doing for the ice arena, this gives us a chance at a more affordable solution. Plus, I believe we're gonna get more than what's been presented so far. But it all depends on the construction manager, the bid, and their plans. And then most importantly is, this project is contingent on approval by the Nobles County Fair Board and securing sources of funding. I think this is a great avenue to go down.
Chris?
Can you, would you address for us the, what that does for the plans that we've created up to this point? Is that nix all that and we're starting from scratch, or where are we at with what we've put into it already?
So the renovation plans that we ultimately did as a second alternative, those plans will be followed fairly closely as far as the renovation of the existing rink. So, and I think the way to look at what we previously did is we established total project construction numbers. So we know what, if we were gonna build a new arena at another location, we know that we're looking at probably $18 to $20 million. We think with renovation and new sheet project, we can, for probably less than that, we can have a two-sheet solution and utilize the existing facility, but get it renovated so that we have another 30 years of expected life out of that. So and one of the other benefits with the fairground site is the infrastructure is already in place. What had not been included in the new sheet projects looking at city-owned land north of the interstate is, depending on where it was decided to go, we may have to build a street and get utilities extended to it, so that you're likely adding $1 million to that just facility cost by going into an undeveloped area. So I guess it's our opinion that this is our last best shot at coming up with a solution for an ice arena.
I'll make a motion to authorize the advertised request of qualifications for construction manager at risk.
Second, I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. On to public works.
All right, first item is to adopt a resolution executing a state of Minnesota grant. City Council at their July 28th meeting approved a task order with Golden Link to upgrade the SWIP at the Worthington Municipal Airport. City of Worthington was recently notified that they have been awarded a Minnesota Department of Transportation grant to cover a portion of this update. Cost breakdown as follows. The grant from the State Department of Transportation is $5,250. The city's local share is $1,850 for a total of $7,100. Attached is the grant agreement and resolution authorizing execution of the Minnesota Department of Transportation grant agreement. It's Exhibit 1. Council action is requested to adopt a resolution accepting the grant and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign any necessary agreements.
I make a motion.
Okay.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
All right, next item is the Minnesota Department of Transportation grant agreement for the airport improvements. At the February 10th, 2025 meeting, council approved a bid with Everstrong Construction to build a new 150-foot by 50-foot 3-bay hangar at the Worthington Municipal Airport. This bid was accepted contingent upon receiving FAA grants to provide any eligible funding. Worthington Municipal Airport has since been awarded 2 FAA grants towards this hangar project. Council at their July 28th meeting accepted a MnDOT companion grant for one of the FAA grants. MnDOT has now authorized a second companion grant that was included as Exhibit 2 to fund a portion of the associated cost of this airport improvement. The amount of this companion grant shall not exceed $23,273.58 or 2.5% of the FAA grant. For council's information, the total local share of this $1.2 million hangar project will be $51,025.21. Council action is requested to adopt a resolution accepting the grant and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign any necessary agreements. And while we did award the bid a couple of months ago, contingent on receiving these grants, and it took a little longer than we thought to get the grants. There was a slight increase due to some of the metal prices in that period of time. I think it was, do you remember, maybe it was like $10,000-15,000. It wasn't much, but we were adamant that we were not going to move this forward until we were assured that the FAA had approved the grants.
When would construction begin?
I haven't heard that they think they're going to get started this fall yet. It would really, the big holdup will be how long it would take to receive the building package, the materials. So I wouldn't put a lot of hope in that it would get started this year, because it could be 3 or 4 months out to get the building package.
Move to adopt the resolution accepting the grant and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign necessary agreements.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second, and any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Well, I know you're probably tired of grants, but I'll do one more. Approve a resolution accepting the Minnesota Department of Transportation Airport Maintenance and Operations Grant. City of Worthington biannually enters into a grant agreement with the state of Minnesota DOT Aeronautics Division for partial reimbursement of our airport maintenance and operation costs. Our proposed grant will cover the state fiscal years of 2026 and 2027. City of Worthington will be paid 75% of the eligible maintenance and operations cost, not to exceed $77,584.21 of state aid for each fiscal year. Copies of the grant agreement for airport maintenance and operations in Exhibit 3 and the accompanying resolution are included in your packet. Council action is requested to adopt the resolution accepting the grant and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign any necessary agreements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and seconded, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
My third item is a change order for Service Road and Service Drive street improvement. The Service Road and Service Drive improvement project has begun, and the area where it connects through Highway 60 needed more soil correction than what was anticipated. The geotechnical analysis by American Engineering Testing found the wet, unstable organic soil in this area were deeper and more extensive than what was assumed during the design phase. This change order addresses the necessary work, including the removal of the unsuitable soil, replacement with stabilizing aggregate, and installation of a dewatering system. Change order amount is $160,822.50, bringing the new contract price to $2,997,291.25. The substantial completion date has been extended by 2 weeks to October 17, 2025. This work has already been completed, no council action is requested. Just more for information.
So the new contract price, is that below the engineer's estimate on this project?
Engineer estimate was about 2.2 million. So yes.
Anyone else have anything?
I'll move to the next one then. My last item is to amend task order 21 with Bolton and Menk for East Okabena Lake Trail. Task order 21 with Bolton and Menk Inc. for the East Okabena Lake Trail project was originally approved on June 12, 2023. This task order included engineering services for trail design, railroad underpass culvert, and obtaining necessary permits and agreements. On November 25, 2024, Council approved a revision to Task Order 21, increasing the fee by $123,000 due to design changes required by Union Pacific Railroad (UPRR). UPRR approval is a critical component of the project, both for ensuring progress and for securing funding from 3 separate grants. However, negotiation with UPRR has proven lengthier and more challenging than anticipated, leading to increased project costs. Staff recommends that the council approve an amendment to Task Order 21 in Exhibit 3 with Bolton and Menk Inc. to allow for completion of the final construction plan design for the East Okabena Lake Trail project. So this task order, Task Order 21 says $50,000 extra, but we're hoping to stay around 20 to 25,000, not the whole 50,000. The reason putting 50,000 is because we don't know how much railroad's gonna cause us delays, so I just bumped it up a little bit more just to cover. So I'm gonna have to come back and do another task order.
Do you feel like you're making progress with the railroad
I
company?
think that's question 2 railroad, but yes.
Do you feel like
we've
you're
gone
making at least
yes.
somewhere?
Yep, we've been going back and forth, and we're at the very final agreement,
Okay.
very at the end, and hopefully with this, after this agreement, we can finally start the bidding process. And most likely, construction will begin next year.
I think for the most part, Union Pacific has been very agreeable to work with.
Yes.
It's a large bureaucracy and many layers to get through to get.
We actually haven't talked to actual railroad staff. It's always been through a consulting firm. So it's, like you said, it's multiple layers to go through in communication.
Anyone else, council?
Make a motion to approve an amendment to Task Order 21.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Community development.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. First item under community development is a conditional use permit request.
Mike.
Before we get started, I have a couple of questions on this
Okay.
whole process.
Sure.
So what are the steps needed by a Kansas business to actually open their doors?
So you start with receiving a pre-approval status from the Minnesota Office of Cannabis Management, which there's a whole process to get there, depending on the license type as well. Some are under a lottery system, some weren't. And then you come to work with the local governments, whether it be a city or a county, depending on the area and how the authority was delegated. You get through zoning approval, which is what we're here tonight to discuss. For us, it's conditional use permits. After that, then you actually move into the local registration process, but before you even get to that point, you work through renovation plans, things like that. Oddly enough, you basically have to have the store almost ready to open before you receive the local registration and your final state approval. OCM will send us things and they want us to certify all building code, fire code, and local zoning ordinances before they'll actually grant the final license to the applicant. However, you can't do that until you're actually done with any renovation plans. So there's a strange level where you're almost ready to open before you actually receive your local registration, your final state license. But you can get through your zoning approval and your pre-approval status with the state first.
So the conditional use permit is the last approval that the council has any control.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. My second question is, it was brought up in discussions when I was reading the planning commission meeting about the number of licenses for the city of Worthington. You know, what is the state is one for every 12,000 residents.
Yep.
I'm really concerned with, you know, if we approve the 3 conditional use permits tonight, that's already 4 businesses that are coming into the city of Worthington. Why, I would argue can we revisit that as a council? You know, I'm concerned with the number of businesses coming into our community. You know, and even one of the people that put their application, I think you had asked the question of why is Worthington, you know, yeah. And he said, well, you're on interstate and your proximity to other states, other jurisdictions where it's not available, makes Worthington a good place to do business. And I'm just thinking, we're gambling here if we don't set some type of limits in this community. That's my personal opinion. I don't know where the rest of council is, except for the 3 here. They were on council before, but, you know, I just, you know, this scares me a little bit with this amount of applications. Now, if there was gonna be some type of limit, you know, the 4 applications we have should be considered, but, you know, beyond that, are we gonna get to 6 or 10 or 12 or? I don't know, what is?
Matt, can you go into a little bit of history about how we came up with not limiting the number? I know there was much discussion internally and on the council. We were talking about certain processes that would have been needed to really determine who, where, when, who would be permitted. You want to give a brief history about that?
Yeah, I think you touched on it there. We did talk with council a lot about, you know, how would you actually limit it? I recall a lot of discussion about whether we should limit that or just kind of allow the free market to determine what businesses live and die here in Worthington in this industry. You know, whether all of them stick around long term, I have no idea. You know, I mean, I wish them all well in their endeavors here, of course, but you know, like any business, it's all a risk and you don't necessarily know what the market is. I remember that being a big point of discussion as well. You know, we did several months after that bring forth a buffer between dispensaries to kind of limit the concentration of them. And that's kind of starting to fill out town a lot more here with these applicants. You know, your one that we'll go over on Ryan's Road, that pretty much covers almost all of Ryan's Road there now. you know, you won't see a second one there as long as that requirement stays in place, so. Yeah, I just recall it being a lot of discussion about, you know, how you go about limiting that, and, you know, whether that's appropriate, or whether we should just, you know, kind of let the free market decide how many you end up with here, so. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
When we had those discussions, we kind of talked about if we limited the number, then we'd have to choose who's gonna get one, who's not, and the free market will determine that on its own, because it's a competition between the businesses. If there's too many, a lot of them will not succeed. So I think they will clean themselves out and restrict how many businesses are selling themselves, instead of us having to choose who does it.
Even along with the free market as well, you're gonna start regulating how many people can sell alcohol in town as well, or smoke shops, cigarettes, all that stuff is all addicted as well, you know, and there's a lot of people that purchase that stuff too, you know, so. With it being a free market like that, I guess, and it's as well too, you know, that, gotta let it run its course, first of all, otherwise we're gonna start having to regulate this or that, or people are gonna want to regulate more things that we're probably not in that.
I could maybe be more comfortable with the free market if our city was in the middle of geographically of the state of Minnesota, but we're not. There's a much bigger market available here in Worthington to the cannabis business than just the city of Worthington. You know, I don't know. I just feel very, very uncomfortable with not having some type of limit on
We were, if I might, yeah, we were dealing with a number of unknowns from the get-go, from the start of this, in the state, and when it came down to, I think part of the discussion with the free, in regards to free market was probably the most, maybe not the best method, but the best method we had at the time to determine, the process that no one had an idea about, you know, what was gonna be. Cause even the OCM at that time, we weren't getting a lot of direction, from them, or, so yeah, there was, I think, with a lot of the unknowns and not knowing from the state and not knowing, how, without a lengthy process of what determining who might get, say, 3 or 4 permits to operate in town. I think that was a hard thing for staff to be able to tackle and really plan around in regards to.
But if the limit is 4,
Right.
applications are closed.
You just take the first 4, that was,
You know, unless there's something wrong with
Right.
with one of the applications. And then it's on just first come, first served. You know, if the first application that comes in after one opens up, if that's approved, fine. If it's not, it's not. You know, to me, I don't think that's a big, you know, hurdle to get over. I don't know.
Amy?
We have a really great map on the city website, which shows the buffer zones. I don't know if you've seen that, Mike, but it looks like a lot of the city is gonna be covered if the 3 tonight go through and the 4, the first one that was approved. But do you have any idea, Matt, as you look at that, how much room there is? Let's just say we're fully saturated based on our ordinance that's in place. How many more cannabis businesses would we potentially see?
I would guess, you know, maybe one more, you know, unless.
I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think
You're
there's
gonna
room for more.
quickly hit a point where you need to start building new, really kind of on the edge of town somewhere.
And then do most of the time when people come in, are they looking at who else has already applied or
Yeah,
not
there
really?
is definitely a very noticeable kind of a mad dash to figure out who's allowing what around the state. Of course, with some places limiting it, and you gotta know if you're doing a lottery there or, you know, move on to your next pick of places. You know, we saw a lot of interest both from individuals and then companies that just are putting together information for potential clients that work with them. Now that we do have, you know, 4 with these 3 requests now, that really has kind of limited a lot of other interest I've noticed. You know, people find out there's 4 and they'll move on to looking at the next town.
Then you can have too many and then you're.
Right, then the market says, yeah, there's not enough. But on the other hand, we do limit the number of liquor licenses in town, right? No? Okay. All right.
The biggest hurdle on your liquor licenses is the state laws
Okay.
regarding that.
Basically, that's what we're dealing with. Mandated dispensaries, or to start with.
Right.
Okay.
So as a reminder, you want to just remind council what our responsibility here is tonight. This is a zoning issue. A conditional use permit identifies that these businesses are in an approved zone. Conditional use allows the council to impose reasonable conditions on those businesses. For the council to approve a conditional use permit, it requires 4/5 vote. Since we have 5 council members, it will take 4 yes votes to approve the conditional use permit. If you vote against it, you must provide a stated reason that is documented. If it doesn't get the 4 necessary votes, the action fails to pass.
Actually, just a majority vote.
I'm sorry?
Just a majority vote.
Majority vote for CUP?
Yes.
Isn't it 3/5? Huh?
I thought it was 4 folks.
Yeah, it requires, I'm sorry, not 3/5, it requires 2/3 majority, which in our case is 4/5 to approve the CUP.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into this here then, unless there's any other discussion you want me to proceed there. All right. All right, first item is a dispensary request for 1015 3rd Avenue. This one here, Kirk Cruz has requested a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a cannabis dispensary at 1015 3rd Avenue. This is located on the 3rd Avenue side of the Thompson building. 3 existing business spaces will be combined into 1 larger retail space. Pursuant to City Code Chapter 155, Appendix E, Table 5, cannabis retail facilities are permitted by conditional use only in the B2 district. At its September 2nd meeting, the City Planning Commission voted 3-2 to recommend approval of the requested conditional use permit with the following conditions. 1, the business shall have no blinking, flashing, fluttering, or other lighting or signage that is inconsistent with surrounding businesses. Lighting not visible from the exterior of the business shall not be subject to this requirement. 2, the business shall have no digital signs. 3, no on-site consumption or cultivation shall be allowed. 4, security cameras shall adequately cover exterior areas in front of the business and must maintain compliance with applicable rules and statutes of the state of Minnesota. And 5, there shall be no entrances shared with other tenant spaces. 1 dissenting vote stemmed from concern with the residential spaces above. That would be Mr. Kielbach. He can tell you more about that. The other vote just stemmed from concerns with the cannabis industry in general. You'll see that commissioner voted no on all 3 requests there. Not so much site specific, just more about the industry in general. If you follow along in your packet, you can see what they based their recommendation on there. Should council concur with the findings of the planning commission, it may approve the land use application by motion. And then, like Steve said, any council member voting against the application must state their reasons for doing so for the record. Council action is requested.
Mike?
First, I'd like to see the applicant install a camera covering to the east, the parking lot and alley on the building. You have one just, you only required one on the front. But to the east, there's parking for residents of the Thompson. Their own network camera, just so we have a camera covering that side. Secondly, and this goes to number 5, surrounding zoning and land uses should be considered to reduce land use conflicts and ensure the safety and well-being of the surrounding neighborhood. Should we be allowing a cannabis business in this building with 38 unit residential above it, and the entrance to the residential right next to the cannabis business? To me, having it that close, I mean, you're in the same building. Your entrance is right next door.
But it's separate, correct?
It's separate.
Yeah.
Well,
And there's no on-site use.
Correct, yes, if you choose to leave that in there.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like I think they're checking age at the door, something so that you're old enough to be past the door.
I appreciate the no on-site use since it is in the same building with other tenants above them.
I think you'll see that in all three, you'll see that there was that there's a process for, yes, checking in people as they come in, IDing them, making sure they're valid potential customers. And the layouts are generally the same among all three, where they have, their showroom, and a locked area for their product, and of course some staff areas and stuff like that. But if you've gone through any of the material, you'll see the same general layout of all three as where they come in. Yes, they ID them. It's all in stages of the business. My main concern is with this particular application for dispensary was really the proximity of a higher residential specific area for our downtown that serve individuals, many families, that include little ones. I just personally would not want to see this type of business right next door in an apartment complex or connected to my building. If I was a resident. So to me, it's ultimately a kind of a public safety issue with this specific application. I've been talking with the applicant before. They did say, I will honestly say this, they said if there was like air quality concerns, venting or whatever, they would have addressed those issues within the building itself, and filtering out exhaust, having air exchangers and a filter system. Smells, that kind of thing, because the product has, even when it's not being used or utilized, has a specific, has a smell to it. So they did address those issues that they had ways to address that.
And this was gonna have a one in and one out entrance, right? See, there's a couple of doors on here, so yeah, obviously the one will be in and out, the other one's just gonna be an out for safety.
Correct. One
One-
delivery.
One is planned to be a secure delivery entrance, one's the main door, the other one will be framed over and closed up.
Anybody else have anything? Steve?
Let's revisit the number of votes on the zoning ordinance. We have an opinion by our city attorney from 2019 that due to changes in state statute, a simple majority is not required on zoning ordinances. Is that correct, Matt?
Yeah, and, yeah,
So it is not a 2/3 majority is required to,
and I apologize, we should have verified that before the meeting.
so simple majority.
Anybody else have anything? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the conditional use permit.
Motion?
With the installation of the camera on the side.
Yeah, that's all, with that addition. And the stipulations listed already in the case item.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's been carried.
All right, second item, this is another conditional use permit for a dispensary, this one at 341 Oxford Street. Jason Axelson has requested a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a cannabis dispensary at 341 Oxford Street. This is the end unit of a 3-unit building, the space that New Tech previously occupied in that building. Pursuant to City Code Chapter 155, Appendix E, Table 5, cannabis retail facilities are permitted by conditional use only in the B3 district. At its September 2nd meeting, Planning Commission voted 4-1 to recommend approval of the requested conditional use permit with the following conditions. The business shall have no blinking, flashing, fluttering, or other lighting or signage inconsistent with surrounding businesses. The business shall have no digital signs. Security cameras shall adequately cover exterior areas in front of the business and must maintain compliance with applicable rules and statutes of the state of Minnesota. And 4, the parking lot must be striped and compliant with ADA requirements. The commission did opt to exclude a staff recommended condition to require the easterly entrance from Oxford Street be hard surface from the road to the existing hard surface parking lot. And the lone dissenting vote stemmed from concerns with the general cannabis industry, not the specific sites. In your packet, if you follow along, you can see what they based their recommendation on. So with that, council action is requested.
Motion?
The parking lot pavement, I mean, I was here for the discussion, is that, so because the road that adjoins it is gravel, planning commission kind of decided not to put that requirement in there?
Yeah, so the driveway to enter onto the property is gravel.
Okay.
And then you, from that gravel driveway entrance, you then turn onto a bituminous parking
Okay.
area. Staff had recommended that driveway entrance be paved also. After some discussion, the planning commission opted to remove that condition from what they passed on to city council.
Are you saying that parking lot is?
The parking lot in front of the building is paved. It's not properly striped, which that was one of the conditions that stayed in, that they would have to stripe parking spaces in there. But it's to access the paved parking area from Oxford Street, everyone will have to drive across the gravel area.
And generally, you bring those into compliance when the property changes hands, right? Versus lease.
Not always,
Okay.
you know, typically, you know, if you can't do it when it's first developed, you try and find those other opportunities, maybe if it's significantly renovated and changes uses. If you think it's a reasonable condition, if a conditional use permit comes out, things like that.
I was just wondering about traffic, additional traffic in, and I don't know if that was a concern.
Not the additional traffic, but that's why that was an initial staff recommendation. But you're right, they did talk about Frederick Avenue, being gravel on the side too. But yeah, that was the initial recommendation, was because of the increase or potential increased traffic in and out of that kind of gravel entrance onto Oxford, that this would be the opportunity to pave that.
Go ahead. So you're talking about the entrance to the east? This one?
Correct.
Okay. You know, it's been talked about for years about this area, you know, creating, you know, dust and things like this. Would a conditional use permit be the perfect way to start the process of getting these areas
Yeah, and then
asphalt?
the larger discussion is what to do with Frederick Avenue, which,
That's a city issue there.
well, and it's actually also with the property owners, because none of the property owners have come forward wanting Frederick Avenue developed, which we would have to install utilities. There is one landlocked property that's completely landlocked. And utilities would have to be extended to all properties, and also, and then paving it, and then if you get into storm sewer with curb and gutter, much of which would be assessed to the property owners, and that is why there really hasn't been much movement on that. And for full clarity, the city owns 2 properties that have adjoining property lines on Frederick Avenue. The back of the Public Works shop is there, and also the generator plant that Public Utilities has also borders on that street. So, and not that the city has never stopped moving forward because of cost. It really has been never a push by the other property owners, because they know that the cost would be substantial. And we have, someday, probably sooner rather than later, that will have to be addressed. That street needs to be paved, because it does create a bit of a gravel and dust mess on that area of Oxford Street.
So it doesn't seem like the appropriate time to necessarily enforce something like that.
You know, and I think if you look at how this site lays out, is more traffic going to enter this business storefront from that east driveway or from Frederick Avenue to the west? I don't, you know, I like the idea of paving that driveway entrance, but I don't think it's going to be the one resolution to the dust and gravel problem.
But if we're gonna need to do Frederick Avenue at some point, then should we start with this conditional use permit, because we won't have any leverage over that?
That is
That
correct.
goes away.
And I think that's in large part why staff recommended paving that driveway.
Yeah, all you have to do is pay the east driveway.
East Drive.
East driveway.
To the,
Yeah.
Yeah, we had recommended east driveway connected into, so you know, kind of follow how a car would go in, that's this chunk you want paved there.
I'm just wondering if we're losing our opportunity to start the process.
I agree with you. I think that should be part of the motion. That east driveway gets paved.
Oh, Amy,
That area is a pretty large gravel area. is there opportunity for a different type of business to go in there at some point in the future? That would be more, would lead to a paved area?
Along the frontage of Oxford
Yeah.
Street. One of the property owners had looked in the past at having a retail outlet on that area, which, if that built new, they would have to have hard surface parking to accommodate their business. Where's the property line? I'll take a quick look here.
Yeah, you got a lot of room, if they wanted to either split the property and sell a big chunk of it, or just build another building on this lot, they could do so. So there's a lot more opportunity for development in this area as well.
I just wanted to see where that.
Is a possible, condition to the CUP, that entrance be closed? For egress, or ingress?
Possibly, but you are dealing with a property that has, well, one unit's vacant, but the potential for 2 other businesses on the site as well. So you need to look at, is it fair to the other businesses that might be in that building? I don't think one access point off Oxford is completely unreasonable. And you do have a left-hand turn lane going into that as well. So you get kind of a little goofy there.
So that remaining property that fronts on Oxford Street is a separate owner and would require complete redevelopment. So it's unlikely that if that remaining undeveloped area on Oxford Street were built up, this east driveway would have no bearing on what they do. It would not be, it is unlikely that they would be included as a shared driveway. So, yeah. I think you're correct in saying that this may be the one opportunity to get that driveway entrance. Okay, Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that was of course in the initial staff recommendation, with the potential for increased traffic. If you're coming down Oxford, you see their sign, you'll probably just turn right away, would be my guess. Unless you can keep going to Frederick or something. I think it'd be the opportunity to address that, especially with what will likely be a higher volume business than past businesses that have been there for many years.
Yeah, I would say it would probably be more apt to turn in on the east driveway versus Frederick, and there's a little bit more truck traffic on Frederick. And
So if we require bituminous, does that kind of go kitty corner towards the building?
You could do that, or you could kind of come in and then kind of go left.
Just come in and turn to the left.
And then you connect straight into that already paved section,
I just think if we're gonna do it, if it's something that's on the horizon, this might be the opportunity.
I think your judgment on that is correct. We would have little opportunity other than a full redevelopment of that to address more pavement on that site.
one more final comment here. You'll notice in, coming from planning commission, there's not the recommendation for the prohibition of on-site consumption and cultivation. That was not heavily discussed on this one at all, so you can certainly add that in if you choose as well. They didn't have any particular reason for leaving that off.
So the first one we approved, what, a month ago or so?
Yep.
Did we have that
Yep.
provision in there?
Yeah.
And then the one earlier, we had that provision.
Yeah.
Should that be a standard provision in our applications?
You know, it could be. Suppose you could always consider an amendment to a conditional use permit in the future if you find out a little bit more about how that would actually impact surroundings. If they wanted to pursue that at a later date. But yeah, if it's any level of concern, I would add it in now.
Anything else? Do we have a motion? Conditional use permits.
I'll make a motion for the conditional use permit that includes no consumption of cultivation and these driveways blacktop.
We still have security cameras surrounding the front, side, and back.
Just the front, I believe,
Front.
right, security cameras.
Camera on the side, will they park on the side or not? That'd be the-
Parking is in the front.
You could just say cover exterior areas of the business.
There's two doors on the back part of the building as well too. One that's gonna be probably for deliveries.
Yeah, on the rear, yep.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to include cameras for the exterior.
Dennis, would you clarify the second part of your motion in regards to the east entrance? Was it, did you say block it, or did you say
Black.
hard?
Black.
Okay, gotcha. Or hard surface?
Hard
Hard surface.
Just so they understand, our definition of hard surface is paved concrete or bitumen. This is hard packed gravel.
Okay, we did have a motion for conditional use permit.
A second.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
All right, last one here. This is a conditional use permit for a dispensary at 1151 Ryan Road. Redwood Season LLC has requested a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a dispensary at 1151 Ryan's Road. I believe this is actually Suite 12. This is the former location of Anytime Fitness in that strip mall there. At its September 2nd meeting, the City Planning Commission voted 4-1 to recommend approval of the request with the same general ones that you've seen on all of them: the lighting, digital sign prohibitions, no on-site consumption or cultivation, and security cameras there, which I understand you'll probably want them then to just cover exterior areas, as there is a rear door inside of the building as well. You can see what they base their recommendation on. Last thing I will note, at the public hearing, we had a representative from the applicant present. The applicant is here tonight if you do have questions or want to hear from her at all. With that, council action is requested.
Well, I think at the planning commission meeting, we did hear from the actual applicants and those that held the preliminary approval, but we did not get an opportunity to meet the applicant on the Ryan's Road. We have that person come forward and introduce himself.
Hi.
Would introduce yourself.
I'm Mason. Mason Basin is my last name. So, what would you like to know? I'm so awful at public speaking, so I'm so sorry.
First, I was pretty impressed with your application. You have the applicant as you on behalf of Redwood Season LLC, but the owner is Meadowbrook Mountain Community LLC.
So,
So what's the connection or what's the?
I have a what's the word for it?
A lease.
Yeah, a lease, and then through like people that like will. So I own the LLC for like the cannabis company, and it's like a lease.
You have an LLC renting from the landlord who's got.
So this is the landlord?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Meadowbrook has nothing to do with the cannabis business.
Okay.
Yep.
Explain that again, Matt. Redwood is who?
Redwood is an LLC.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
That's her. Meadowbrook is an LLC involved with the ownership
That
of
owns
the building.
the,
Yeah.
this
Okay.
Yeah.
strip mall.
Correct. Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay, I want to make sure I understood who Redwood was.
That's me.
So will you be managing or will you hire a manager?
I'm probably hiring out a manager for it, but be like overseeing everything.
So you won't be working on site?
Not full time, for right now. We're looking at properties of hoping to be closer to the area. My sister lives in Minnesota, so hoping to get closer to her, and my niece and nephew, and get our kids closer to their cousins. So, but for the beginning, not directly right away, but it's in the works.
Do you have specific ties to the Worthington community or Knowles County?
We would come here when I was a kid to the lake and stuff. We had property in Kokopochi, so we would come to kind of all the lakes around. So I've been here when I was a little kid growing up. So when looking at properties, I had remembered Worthington growing up.
What makes Worthington attractive to you and your business?
I am from a small town, so I grew up in a small town. And I also, my husband is Hispanic, so the Hispanic community here is great for us as well. But just visiting and seeing the community, it's just very quaint. I like the little downtown area. It reminded me a lot of where I grew up. So.
Anybody else have any questions? You have any questions for us? Do we have a motion?
Thanks, Mason.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Just, there's the same, the representative for this company at the planning commission meeting is the same representative that was here for the first business that we approved a couple weeks ago, or a month ago now, or
July.
July, yeah. Just for the council's
The
reference.
same consultant. Yep.
I like it that the business owner themselves actually comes to the planning commission. I think that's kind of important if you're gonna run a business in our city, but. So I appreciate that.
Just a question,
Yeah.
this probably doesn't affect this business, but is the fairgrounds considered something you would buffer against?
No.
Because there's kids congregate there.
Correct. There's not been a lot of clarification on how that's defined in statute yet, believe it or not. So we've been largely sticking to generally just public parks. Ones where it's going to be very clearly regularly used by minors as it's defined. The fairgrounds, you can probably argue either way. And if you recall, there was some, this was more to do with tobacco licensing and the county's requirements. They had a lot of debate about even Trojan Field and how that fit the definition with minors and things like that, and determined you couldn't really prove that that was all minors or anything like that. So kind of following that general guidance, we just stuck with the actual public parks, things that are regularly used by minors in the athletic fields, as that was included in this state statute definition there. So no, not the fairgrounds at this point.
How about the hockey arena?
That one, not that one either.
Feels like it's like JDS Fieldhouse, like it should be. but-
Yeah, we've excluded those, mainly because they're not completely like publicly open places. If it's a playground you can take your kids to, we feel that pretty clearly fits that definition. Whereas places where maybe you have to either pay to enter or rent the space or something of that nature, we've determined that doesn't fit that definition at this time.
And even then, if the buffer between that and business or property would be what?
200 foot under our current ordinance.
So that would, fairgrounds would probably fall outside of
Okay.
that.
Any other discussion?
Motion to approve the conditional use permit for 1151 Ryan.
Okay, motion
Second?
and a second. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Motion's been carried.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. On to council committee reports. I have nothing.
No report.
I attended the Heron Lake Watershed Advisory Board, and they are looking for additional members. It really was a formation meeting. No activity really occurred because it has been not meeting basically since COVID, but it's required to have at least 5 members, and they're short. So if you know somebody, in the watershed district, maybe from the community of Brewster or I think Reedy and Wilmot kind of edge it as well. So if you know somebody, farmer or somebody impacted by that,
So far, word of
Go on
mouth
the
is like
website.
trying to get that out, or have they been advertising for that at all?
they're starting to now. So that was one of the things that we had a heavy discussion on. So anyway, there's applications on the website and direct people to go to the
How many
website.
counties does that cover?
Oh,
Is it like
it's 3,
Jackson?
Knowles, Jackson, some of them.
I was just saying,
Is it
Carter
Gordon
County,
Martin? Yeah.
That doesn't cover it.
There's portions of that, I think. But, Worthington is just barely on the edge of it. But that's that.
All right, thank you. Mike?
The HRA, we have requests for proposals to refurbish, redo 2 houses that we purchased on Virginia and Apple. And staff mapped, and a couple of your counterparts really put the proposals together. They're out on the market right now, and the bids are to be returned September 25th. So we're looking forward to that. So, that's really about it. HRA.
Thank you. Chris?
a lot of what my report entailed Matt's business tonight, so other than that, no report.
Steve?
Just a reminder, tomorrow at 4 o'clock, we'll start to go over the budget. We also scheduled a second budget meeting on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. We may get through everything that we have at this point. We're looking just at levying funds. So we'll meet at 4 o'clock tomorrow, and if we're able to get through everything, we'll cancel Wednesday's meeting. That's all I have there.
Second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.